What's up guys, and welcome back to another speculation video for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, and we're going back to look at some more Sinnohan Forms today. So, as I mentioned in the last video and for the next few videos for this mini-series, we're going to be looking at some art from, in particular, one deviant artist who goes by the name of Cool Pikachu 29. The link, of course, will be down in the description below. But Sinnohan Forms. So we're going through Gen 2, basically looking at these Gen 2 Pokemon, thinking about what they could be like as Sinnohan Forms, regional variants in general, spitballing ideas, and going along like that. So let's just jump right in there, and we're going to carry on, starting off with today, Natu. So of course Natu is a psychic flying type along with its counterpart Xatu, same typing there. Looking at these designs, there's actually some pretty cool stuff you could do with Natu and Xatu, because obviously Xatu is based on, to some extent, like a totem pole sort of thing. Obviously Natu has similar sort of traits to that, so you can see this bottom left one here definitely is building on that totem pole with the facial markings, but the other three actually are really cool as well. I particularly like the top right one with this sort of, I don't know what you call it, like a crown of leaves around its head. Looks like Julius Caesar. I quite like that. And the other two as well. The bottom right one, the amazing plumage on it. Like, it's only a small bird, of course, Natu, but you can add some plumage to it to really make it sparkle. In terms of typing for these different variants, again, in particular, this artist doesn't really do Sinnohan Forms. They do regional variants, which means variant sort of colorings and typings and designs, as opposed to different typings. So it's not like they've designed a fire flying Natu, for example. So all of these could fit in this psychic flying sort of genre, but we'll spitball off of those and see, you know, what other ideas we can come up with for particular types for these. So the bottom left one looks like it could be woody, you know, like a woody sort of totem pole thing. So you could build like a rock flying there if you really wanted to. Instead of going for the totem pole wood, you could build it into a rock. Rather than that, but I think the biggest type possible for Natu or Xatu, and both of them of course, is well, we'll have to look at Xatu for it, but it's Ghost Flying, because it's currently psychic flying, and I think probably the easiest thing you could do is like change the psychic to ghost. That's probably pretty damn easy. I don't know why, it's just sort of my best idea for most things. So yeah, or you could go for dark, I suppose, make a dark flying one, but apart from that, I think generally you have to keep the flying type. You could take it away because it's not like they're exactly flying birds, they just sort of sit around, they don't fly too much, so you could probably take it away if you were to convert the wings into something else, possibly, who knows. But if we move on to Xatu, so we can actually talk more in depth about them, because obviously Natu is basically just a little ball with wings on it. So you see here Xatu and its different designs, you know, pulling off of the initial ones. Again, the top right one looks like Julius Caesar with its crown, but I do really like it, and there's loads of different colourings here. So again, the bottom left one, totem pole basis, and the bottom right one, all of them really could fall into like a totem pole basis sort of thing. But the bottom right one as well looks a lot like an Egyptian sort of thing. So again, you know, the wings, they're not really wings, they are wings, but they're not used for flying, so you could easily convert them into something else. The bottom right one, if you want to pull the Egypt theme a bit further, you could go for like a ground flying type, you know, pull it towards there, ground psychic type maybe, and it's maybe a bit too close to Claydol then. But generally, yeah, the top left one here there would be my choice for like a ghost flying type. You can see the colouring is darker, it's more dull, you know, it's sort of not as extravagant, rather than this one or two, I don't know what it is, how many it is, long sort of feathers down the back of its head. It's got two shorter ones, so it's more sort of contained and more content, and I could see that being a ghost flying type, just simply because of the duller colours, whereas the psychic one obviously is more extravagant and flamboyant. So that's Natu and Xatu. Next, moving on to electric types, and we have Mareep. Now, talking about regional variants where the level of variance isn't Sinnohan Form wise, it's what people were doing before it, where they took a Pokemon and they said, let's just alter it slightly to its environment, basically. So the sheep is a very easy one to do this for, because there are many different species of sheep. So the normal Mareep, obviously we see in the centre, is nice and fluffy. There are also sheep that are hairier, like the bottom right one here, that just have long hair. There's obviously sheep that are spotted, like the bottom left one here, and different sort of types of wool and stuff like that, different colourings, darker sheep, so you can really go anything here, so it's a really easy one to do. In terms of type changes, however, obviously again, it's a bit different, but the Mareep ones here, and carrying along this line as we look at the other evolutions, I could definitely see an electric dark type for Ampharos' line, for Mareep, you know, Flaaffy and Ampharos. Maybe not for Mareep and Flaaffy, but definitely for Ampharos. I know it's a bit weird, and you know, the electric dark type is probably more suited like a Mega Luxray or something similar to that, but I could see it because obviously normal Mareep has some dark, you know, black patterning on it, so you just branch that onto its wool and make it sort of more mischievous, like the bottom left one here. You can really see it's got sharper eyes, and it's just looking for trouble. In terms of the other typing possible, I could also see, in contrast to that, an electric psychic type, because obviously Mareep, Flaaffy and Ampharos have these balls on their tails, they're little orbs. Obviously they're meant to be like bulbs and stuff like that, but you could extend it into like a psychic orb, so you give it some psychic powers, and very easily, same with just putting some black colouring on the Mareep, turn it into an electric psychic type, and I feel like that would be pretty interesting. Of course, it's not likely for the Mareep line to get regional variants because of Mega Ampharos, but they might decide to do it, who knows? It's unlikely, of course, but they could decide to do it, who knows? That would be pretty cool though, get a variant Mega Ampharos, would be pretty cool, although knowing Pokemon and Game Freak, they'd just add regional variants and then say, oh, Mega Ampharos, it just evolves to the normal one, normal one Mega Ampharos. Anyway, so that's Mareep. If we move on to Flaaffy and continue this trend, you can see similarly different types of wool and fur on it because of all the different types of sheep. The bottom left one again, you can see clearly would be leaning towards like an electric dark type because it just looks like it's going to cause some trouble there. And then in terms of electric psychic, the top left one possibly could link into that sort of design or mindset because of the lighter colour, a bit paler, so maybe its orb would be a bit like brighter sort of thing, who knows. In terms of these other two designs on the side, I'm not sure really what you do with them because they're basically Flaaffy with just longer hair as in the bottom one, and the top one it's just got like curved horns. That's really it. The fur and the wool is pretty similar. I don't know really what you could do with it. It would be a very subtle change, and obviously we don't know what level of regional variants they really want from these regional forms quite yet. We've seen some in the forms, of course. Diglett Dugtrio got some hair basically and changed colour a bit. So we don't know really how little they're wanting to go. So you could add a regional variant of Flaaffy that basically just had curved horns, and it would be the Sinnohan Flaaffy. Of course, that would be the only difference. So whether they would actually want to do that or not, who knows? Because it's a different model for the game and stuff like that. If we then move on to the final member of this trio, of course, we have Ampharos. Now, I've mentioned half Mega Ampharos, so it's less likely that we're actually going to get a regional variant of Ampharos, but there are a few different things you could do with it. As mentioned, the bottom left one here definitely could be dark electric. You see these dark blotches and spikier sort of horns and whatnot, and I could definitely see that happening. You have to add some, more patterning across its body just to make it a bit darker, but also electric psychic still possible. The top left one maybe linking into that, rather than a red orb you could add like a pinky orb to link in with the psychic type, of course, and the flowier hair definitely links more to psychic than sort of a sharper tinge of hair colour, I suppose you could say. In terms of the other two designs, again similarly, there's not huge variance in them because the top right one, yes, it's got curved horns and blotchy stomach, but apart from that, there's not many changes. And the bottom right one, it's just got longer hair, it's just slower. So the bottom right one, you could see it could be the same type, electric type, same as always. The only difference being in the stats. So whether they really want to do regional variants that really the only change is stats and a slight design change, we do not know. Of course, Diglett Dugtrio may be possible. But you can make it even slower Ampharos and give it just be bulkier rather than more offensive. And they could easily do that just to, give a Pokemon another side, I suppose. So it's not just defensive. If you use this variant, it's defensive. But whether they want to or not, who knows? Because they could either go for full design remakes or they could go for sort of a mix and match, I suppose. So really, we don't know quite what their scope for this is, and we won't for many years to come, I suppose. Who knows? But ideas throwing around at least. If we then move on from Ampharos and pop on to Blossom. Now, of course, Blossom was introduced in Generation 2. We have Oddish, Gloom, and Vileplume in Generation 1. So maybe add regional variants for those, or you could just add one for just Blossom, because Blossom's main design sort of draw factor are the flowers on its head. So obviously, normal Blossom's got two red rosy flowers, and then some green and yellow leaves as a dress. You could easily change those flowers out for different flowers. Of course, you can see here the 4 designs. We have 4 different flowers. We have actual roses on the bottom right. We have, flowers, some other flowers, orange, pink, and then white. Now, with this flower change, you could also change its typing. So, normal Blossom is just a pure grass type. So, the top right one here, you can see these flowers are sort of more calming, more ghostly maybe, so you can see its body has gotten darker, so maybe a grass ghost type I could definitely see happening for there, just as a different sort of feel to it, I suppose, rather than just pure grass. The top left one has got pink flowers, so you could even go grass psychic there. The bottom left one has got orange yellowy flowers, grass ground maybe, who knows. Yeah, grass ground doesn't really work as much there, but you guys get the idea. The extra spikes on those flowers as well could link into cactuses, so grass ground may be working for that sense. If it had to live in the desert, for example, and adapted to that environment, who knows. And the red rose one, that would probably stay pure grass. You could go poison and say, you know, maybe it's gotten red rosy, so it attracts more Pokemon to it and it poisons them with its thorns. Who knows? You guys get the idea though. I think there's a lot you could do with Blossom since it's a very simplistic design with the 2 flowers on its head and some leaves. And you could easily switch the flowers out for a different colour flower and almost just change the type instantaneously with a few minor other differences. So it's a really interesting Pokemon and definitely possible for Sinnoh, because of course Sinnoh is where Shaman resides. There's that big flower meadow, so you could, you know, say if you level up Blossom in the flower meadow, you get this form rather than the other form. That's my one tinge, I suppose, though, with regional variants. A lot of the time I am tempted to say, right, if you level up Blossom, for example, in these flower fields, so either where Shaman is caught or possibly in Floroma Meadows, it evolves into the Red Rose one, of course. But that makes me want to say, for the rest of the region, it evolves into the normal one, but then it wouldn't be a Sinnoh Blossom, it would be like an extra sort of individual form Blossom. So, but then the thing is, okay, it evolves into this type of Blossom anywhere in the region. What happens if you roll it in the snow? What's making it evolve into a different type of Blossom? It's not the environment, it's something else just because it should. Of course, it does make sense for a Alolan Vulpix evolving into a Alolan Ninetales because that's already part of its species. Whereas if you had a normal Gloom, so similar to normal Cubone evolving into a Alolan Marowak, what's making that happen? Is it just the environment, just the atmosphere, or is it something particular about the environment? Who knows? That's my one tinge about it. I feel like in some cases it should be local, but then of course it's not. You know, it's not a regional variant, or is a regional variant. It's just not not a region Pokemon. It's more of a like Leafeon and Glaceon evolving with the Moss and Moss Rock and Icy Rock, I don't know. Anyway, you guys get the idea there. Move on to the last line for today, and that's going to be Marill and Azumarill, and I think there's a few different things you could do with these Pokemon. So Marill, obviously water fairy type, Azumarill same typing there. So the fairy type was added recently, so I feel like with a few minor design changes you could really go for water fighting possibly. So with these designs here, there's not a huge variance again. They are based around staying the same type, but the bottom right one here with this darker blue colour, a couple different shades on it, I could see that transitioning more towards a water fighting type. I think water fighting would be really a good contrast to the water fairy of normal Marill and Azumarill. And water fighting in terms of the design, of course you have to go darker, you have to go more menacing possibly, and you have to give it, maybe its tail grows a bit larger, and that's what you use to fight, because obviously its legs and its arms aren't really doing much of that. In terms of the rest of these designs though, the top left one, it's got a lot of fuzzy fur apparently. I could possibly say like you could build in some form of, or at least in terms of typing, I mean I think it gets thick fat already, doesn't it? So there's not a huge change there, but you guys get the idea in terms of typing, or I want to say an ice type, but I don't want to say an ice type because this doesn't make any sense. But in terms of these other designs, yeah, really they are all fairy based, so you can't really pull too much from them, apart from spitballing and fantasizing about a water fighting type. Looking similarly at Azumarill then, and these different ones, of course the typing is very similar. As mentioned, the bottom right one, I can see that transitioning into a water fighting one, maybe just give it some red colouring to link in with that fighting type possibly. And in terms of the other ones, again, similarly, they are all pretty water fairy based. There's not too many you could spitball off. One possibility is just take off the fairy typing and just keep it pure water. Of course it won't make a huge difference because it just wouldn't, but that's one thing they could do to throw back to the original Azumarill and Marill, who knows. But that is going to be it for this Sinnohan Forms video for today, guys. As always, let me know what you think about these Pokemon covered in this episode. Do you see like Ampharos becoming like a electric fire type? Who knows exactly what you would think, but let me know what you think about these and also the designs. But this is going to be it for me for today, so I shall be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.